Hello guys, I am Mr. E, and today I'd like to teach you guys a little bit about the crafting here in Torchlight. It's something that's pretty new to a lot of you, but it's not that hard, and I'll show you how to do it. So one of the simple things that you have to do when you start crafting is find a base that you want to craft on. So when you're looking at the gear, you want to look for ones that have the right implicit that you want. You also might look at a weapon and decide you want it based on the attack speed, because the attack speed on it actually makes a difference. So the attacks per second, you might want to look at that, or cast speed, or whatever you're looking at for your build. You want to definitely choose the one that's right for you. However, there are also very rare versions of gear, and those gear actually cost a lot. So you might not want to spend as much money on the top of the line versions, and you might want a cheaper version, and that's fine too. So first things first, you want to look at, let's say, helmets. You'll look at, do I want a strength based one? Do I want a dex based one? Do I want an intellect based one? Do I want a chest with the same thing, a glove with the same thing, a boots with the same thing, a weapon? There's a ton of different weapons to choose from. Does your character use a one hand? Does your character's build use a two hand? You know, find the one that works for your build. And I know that builds aren't simple to find right now. Some of them you can find on YouTube. Some of them you have to find the streamer who's actually working on one, and you can copy their build. Maybe you have, the incentive and the creativity to make your own build, and that's awesome. But figure out what it is that you want to use, and that's how you would start the crafting. You can also, find something. It's possible to drop any of these weapons or pieces of gear as you're farming, and maybe you want to craft on it. Maybe you're lucky enough to find a version that dropped with something nice already rolled on it. That way you don't have to roll as many stats. So for example, let's say we go to my weapon. Right now I am using a two-handed sword, and I'm using the Griffin Greatsword. My build is Whirlwind, and I am playing on Thea. So this is the most expensive base in the game for a two-handed sword. It doesn't drop very commonly. It drops in really high tier maps, preferably probably off of a boss. One of the Uber bosses, I'm guessing. I actually didn't drop it myself. But one thing that you need to look at is, do I want this based on its overall random affix, or do I want it based on the DPS it starts with, or do I want this one? Like, all of them have something that's built into it that's a little bit different. You have to find the one that works best for you. I went with the one with the highest DPS, so that's why I chose this sword specifically. Yeah, you could go for anything, but that's up to you. Also, from what I've seen, this also has one of the highest attack speeds. So let's say I went in and I searched it in the trade market to see what other players are listing. If I wanted, I could filter it out by going to the advanced option, and then I could go in here and select I want it to be non-legendary. Like legendary or unique is if you put this star, you go to the non-legendary one. Scroll down to the weapons. You want to click base, and then you want to go to the two-handed sword, and you'll pick the Griffin one. You can then search specifically for rolls on it if you want in here, or you can just look for the base. Random affix 0. That way you're only looking for the bases and not anything else rolled on it. So this is how you would filter out to see the base if you want to know how much it is by itself. When crafting, there's a huge difference between like a level 80 and a level 85. They can roll anywhere in between, but if it's not at least level 85, you're not going to get the most out of your craft. Why is that? Why does it have to be level 85 or higher? The reason why is because when it comes down to rolling specific mods on your gear, some of them are locked behind a level cap. So if you don't hit that 85 or higher level zone, you won't be able to roll all of the mods that are possible on your gear. Maybe you're starting the game and you don't want to, make end game stuff. You just want to make something that's easy, something that'll help you right away. Well, there are some other items in the game that you can actually use right away and start crafting on, and I'll show you right now. So for example, let's say you just started the game. You made it to like level 20 or something, and you just want better gear to help boost you through the campaign so that you can get into some of the, more end game content quicker. So what you do is you go to the trade, or you might be able to find something on your own. So let's say you want to start with a couple rings that you can make right away that will actually benefit you in the long run. Something actually not too hard to make and something quite simple. So you want to go and make sure you're still set to the basic gear, and you want to click out of weapons. If you have anything over here, click the X on it, X out of all of it. You want to go to trinkets and scroll down to rings. Then you want to hit base, and you want to scroll from the top to the bottom until you find these ones that say level 1. This is the requirement on what level you must be to be able to use them. Does it matter if it's level 85 or higher? For some of the roles, sure, but you're not trying to make the most endgame gear right now. You're just trying to make something that you can use right away that will benefit you in the long run. So let's say you're having the most problems right now with lightning resist. So you pick the lightning ring and you say search. Maybe it'll cost you 1 FE. More than likely, it won't cost you that much. It'll probably cost you some flame sands or something like that. Maybe even crystals, who knows. So let's say you bought one. I'm just gonna buy one, I don't even care, for 1 FE. You can check right here on its implicit or whatever, or affix. You can see like what the max roll is on the ones that sell. And it's up to you if you want the very maximum roll or not. You can go back into the trade house. Oh, whoops. So you can go back into the trade house and you can see what the minimum and the maximum rolls are on the item. And then it's up to you if you want to find the one with the most min-maxed roll, or if you don't care and you're just going for something right now. It might be cheaper if you buy the worst version. It's up to you. So let's say we searched it, and in the search you just want to buy one regardless. It doesn't matter that it's not maxed. It doesn't matter that it's 85. Like, yeah, 85 is the best if you want to make something end game, but it doesn't really matter on the rest. So let's say I bought it 84. This one has the most maximum possible roll on it, and let's go from there. I'll just spend 1 FE and buy it. Right, so then you go to history, and that's where your purchase will be, and you collect the item. It will then go into your inventory. In your inventory, you can find the ring. For me, it's comparing it to what I got already, but here it is. So what do you do to start crafting now? Well, in the town, you'll find an NPC, and it'll say arms dealer on it. So you go to him. He'll have a couple different options. He'll have craft, he'll have enchant, he'll have gear empowerment, and what we're going for right now is crafting. So click craft, click your ring, put it in. Once you're inside, you'll see that there's 3 prefixes and there's 3 suffixes. They're all dependent on the embers over here, on what ends up going in which section. And you can click on it and it'll tell you right here where it's going to go. So obviously if you use a cultivation ember, one of these stats might roll and it'll go in the suffix section down here. Same goes for prefix. Prefix will go up here if you roll it. So, what do we want? Let's say right now all we really want is to max out our resistances. Resistances is key to survivability, correct? Correct. Alright, so Tenacity Embers. Let's say you don't have a lot of them. Maybe you've saved up like 20 or 30 of them and you want to roll for resists. That's cool. They don't actually cost that much, especially if the game's been around for a couple weeks now. They're probably pretty cheap. You can probably get like 100 of them for like 1 FE or maybe even cheaper. They're a pretty common currency that you'll be able to get a lot of while grinding in the game. So let's say you start there. What do we want? We want to try to hit the highest possible outcome on the percentage, because this is something that's supposed to carry us through the early game and get us somewhat into the end game. We're not making the highest possible, but we want something close. So first off, you can click this affix button and it'll tell you what the chances are of being able to roll that specific roll. So let's say just to roll one of those resistances, it's a 25, 25, 25, 25 chance. 1 in 4 that you'll get the one you want. Well, let's say you click this little icon over here because you're trying for cold resist. Click the little icon and it'll show you the weight of your odds of rolling like the highest tier possible. So it's telling you right here, if the ring isn't at least 85, you're not gonna roll a T1 on it. It doesn't even have there's no chance. So if you want T1, which is the highest possible roll, you need to at least have a level 85 version, or it's not possible on this ring. Going down, T2, there's a 3.75% chance that it's going to roll. But, lucky for you, we're starting early. This is the first thing that we want to try to roll on the ring. So it's going to be the cheapest as far as crafting goes, so the odds are a lot greater in your favor that you're going to get a T2 if you want. Because you could sit there and spam it for a while, and it won't affect you as much as it would if you were to place this like 3rd or 4th on the ring later. So here's the odds of what you can get, and we're going to leave this. We're going to get out, we're going to go back, and we're going to start crafting. You'll see right here the cost. It says it costs 1 flame dust and it costs 1 tenacity ember to try. So let's go ahead and try. It'll roll down here, and we're going to see if we can end up, getting lucky and getting a T2. So I hit craft. What happens? First thing happens is we get erosion resist. It'll try to compare your survivability to what the ring was before and what the ring is now. Survivability is really nice, and that's the reason why we're rolling resist to begin with. It'll tell you right here that whether or not it was a positive roll for the overall outcome or a bad roll. If you want to know where the percentile lands, you can hit this button right here in the middle, and it'll tell you right here, you got a T6 roll. Like I said, T1 is the highest possible roll, but because we don't have an item 85 or higher, T2 is going to be where our ring lies on the possibility of rolling the highest. So we want to try to get a T2 if we can, and our objective is not to hit confirm over here. If we hit confirm, it's going to copy this onto the ring, and then it's pretty much stuck there unless you roll it off. So it'll cost a lot more rolling the next possible outcome, and I'll show you this now. Let's say that you don't know what you're doing and you're like, you know what, this seems pretty good, I'll keep this one for now, we'll re-roll it later. Confirm. Now you see that if I was to roll another try to roll something else or to roll over top of it, it now costs 3 times more the flame dust, and it doesn't just cost 1. So that's not something that you want. You want to sit there and you want to say nope over here on the left side, and I'll show you that here actually as well. So let's go ahead and hit this again. It gave us a T4 roll down here. You'll hit the confirm over here. No, I want to keep it the way it is. I don't want to get this new roll. You hit confirm. You can do it again, and you just keep doing it until you roll this one off. It'll basically just replace it, and it's up to you if you want to keep the one it rolled or not, but it is way more expensive making a mistake like this. So let's say I did this a couple times. I don't get the one that I want still. I don't get the one that I want. All right, it replaced it. However, there's no way to take the ring and just erase everything. I can't just say, you know what? I'll pay to clean slate this. I want everything on it removed. That is not a possibility. However, there is something cool that you can do, and let me show you. So let's say I kept this the way it is, and my goal is still to roll a T2 cold right here. So let's keep going and see what we can get. Alright, so we didn't get a T2 cold, but we did get a T2 fire, and luckily it happened to roll over the past one, and this was something we were going to try to roll eventually anyway, so yeah, let's keep it and let's move on. So now we got a T2 fire, but we still really want the cold one, and because we accepted that and it replaced the old one, the cost is no more different than what it was before because we don't have 2 suffixes on there still. We only have 1. So now it's going to cost 3, and the fire resist is going to stay there unless we roll over it. And we don't want to, so we're going to just keep it the way it is. So now that we got one of the T2 rolls that we were looking for, we'll now try to continue to go for the cold resist. Let's go ahead and continue. Hit craft. We got cold. It's just not the one we're looking for. So let's go ahead and continue to roll. This is a process of rinse and repeat over and over, and hoping that if you do roll it, it doesn't remove this one or it doesn't replace it. So let's just keep going and see what happens. We don't want to accept this one though. It'll cost way too much to try to keep going. So you want to hit confirm over here and say, nope, I don't want this one. Well, we almost got a T2, but it's a lightning one. Let's keep going. Oh, well, we got another T2, and it happens to be a lightning one. Whoa, it's not the one we wanted. However, starting off at the very beginning of the game, I can't complain. I'm going to keep a lightning one. So we're going to say yes. Do we still want to go for cold? I mean, that's what we were trying to do. But we could always roll another ring later that has cold on it if we want. And we can just keep working on this one. What do you think? What would you do? It's going to cost us 1 flames. Well, it says, why is it saying that? Hello? Hello? Alright, so it's gonna take a flame sand, not a flame dust. I don't know why it's saying this. That's well, you know, they have something that they can fix. It's not accurate. So it's gonna cost us a flame sand next to continue rolling. I don't know why it's saying flame dust right here when I click on it. So yeah, let's continue, I guess, and we'll try for cold resist. Wow, what's going on here? That's almost... that's a really good roll, too. Dang. Alright, well. If it was me, I would probably just keep this and say, you know what, I'm happy. But for the sake of the video, we're going to keep trying for cold. So it replaced this one and didn't roll one here. Later, when we're trying to roll stuff up here, you'll see random stuff disappear off of the board. You need to pay close attention because even if it doesn't roll over it, it will remove one sometimes. So you have to be careful that even if you got the roll you wanted, you don't accidentally say yes when it removed one of the other rolls that you also wanted off of the whole item. So let's say no, we don't want that. Alright, no, we don't want that. No, that's worse than before. Even better than the one we rolled before, which, like I said, I would still take, but I'm not gonna do it. Alright, so we got the cold we were looking for. However, it's just not the right one. You might be asking me, Mr. E, is it possible to actually just roll something here every time and not get rid of any of these? The answer to your question is yes, but it comes at a cost. So let me show you. If I went down here and hit this little button right here, it brings up fossils. So there's two different types of fossils in the game. There's acute fossil and there's spiral fossil. Spiral fossil being way more rare and way more expensive. This is usually used to guarantee a high-end roll. Not necessarily meaning T1 only, but anywhere between probably T3 and T1, you have a better odds of rolling at least a higher roll if you use a spiral. And acute fossil is what we're looking for. This is where no matter what, it'll guarantee at least one increase to the spot. So if I use this and I plug it in and I say confirm, no matter what, it's going to roll something right here and it will not touch these. So let's go ahead and try it. It's kind of expensive, specifically only this far into an item. Normally, if I was you, and this is what I recommend, wait until you have 5 rolls on your gear, and then on the 6th final spot, you use one of these. Because it'll guarantee out of the 6 spots, it won't remove or replace any of them. It'll always guarantee it to go on the final slot. That's when I like to use the acute fossils the most. However, the option is there for you to use anytime you feel like it. And that's what's cool. So let's go ahead and use it just to show you that we'll roll something right here, guaranteed. And there we go. Guaranteed, it rolled at least something here. It can't roll double the roll, so you'll never have like fire resist and fire resist. It can only roll one regardless, but it can roll a higher or lower tier, and that's when it starts replacing all of the ones rolled on there already. However, since we guaranteed it'll only roll right here, it can't roll fire and it can't roll lightning, so it only had 2 options. It was either cold or erosion, and it rolled cold. We didn't select spiral, so it didn't roll a high tier at all, but let's go ahead and give it a shot and see if maybe it rolls a tier 2. I do not recommend this, at least this early into the crafting, but we're going to test it just to see what we get. So let's say we keep it cute so that it has to roll here, and then we also add a spiral. That way it guarantees it'll at least be a higher tier right here. However, we might get unlucky and it might roll what we want, but it'll roll erosion instead. So like I said, there's only cold and erosion left. So let's see what happens. Well, we got lucky. We got what we wanted. It rolled tier 2 and it's cold. Heck yeah, let's go. So now we have a super high resistant ring instantly that you can use at level 1, and it has nothing up here yet. So you can choose to stop now. You didn't have to spend that much rolling it, and you can instantly have really high resists on your character, or you can continue to roll on this item and go forward. So let's go ahead and go forward, and I'll show you some more that you can actually do with crafting. So now that you did that, you want to remove the fossils, because if you don't, it's going to instantly add them every time going forward. So I took the fossils off. We're not going to use those anymore. We're not wanting to use them anymore, I should say. So you'll see down here that there's a couple other embers that are purple, and one that is legendary or orange, and you'll see another one called Reincarnation Ember. You probably are asking yourself, like, or scratching your head even, thinking like, man, there's so many, like, I don't even know where to start. It's not that hard. Just click on it and read it. Just read it. It says right here, this one has all these stats. Do you want that on your ring? If you don't, then go, nope, I want this one. It has armor. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking to max my armor, or I'm trying to max my evasion or my energy shield. This is the one I want. Like, just ignore the ones that you aren't going to use. It doesn't make a difference. You don't want to just slap anything on. You want to make something specific for you. So pick the one that works for you and just read what it has and go for it. Sky's the limit on what you might be able to accomplish. Maybe you have bad luck and it'll take you forever to roll it, but maybe you won't. Maybe you're like me and you have decent luck on rolls and you'll be able to pull this off. Who knows? So let's go ahead and scroll down, and like I said, I'll teach you a little bit about these. So these are a little bit higher tier embers that you start getting once you get out of the campaign. They only allow you to roll it once you have at least 4 rolls on your gear. So right now it's telling me, sorry, I can't use this because the cost, which is a requirement, is that you have to have at least 4 rolls on your gear before you can start rolling with these 2 types of embers. So regardless, I still can't use these. Ruling embers are prefix, so they're for the top half, and techniques are suffixes, so they're for the bottom half. Because we already rolled what we wanted down here, we decided to kind of cancel this out. We don't even want to use techniques because this is what we are looking for to begin with. However, if you really wanted, since we were looking for cold resist to begin with and we weren't even looking for these 2, we could say we want to opt out. We want to try to roll one of these off and get one of these. So if I was looking at it, I would say you'd probably pick something either with the tenacity blessing or with the focus blessing or the agility blessing, I'm guessing. Somewhere in these 3, you would pick one of those. Most of you aren't going to do reaping. Most of you aren't going affliction probably early on. So maybe you would be trying to roll for one of those. And these embers aren't super cheap. I wouldn't recommend going for it early on if I was you. Not unless somehow you just come across a bunch of them, or you have a friend that just throws you a bunch and says, you know what, I don't need these, go ahead and use them. So they aren't super cheap. Later in the season, they will be reasonably cheap. You can get like 100 for one Flame Elementium, but early on they're not going to be that cheap, so I don't recommend just wasting them for nothing on an item that's not going to be your end game, So let's just say, for the sake of this video, this is what you wanted. I'm not even going to roll these. What is a Reincarnation Ember? Well, it tells you right here, re-equipped all affixes randomly. So if I hit this, it will probably just randomly roll every single one of them on the board to something different random. Is that something that you want to do? No, you don't want to do this. I've never ever used one of these. I honestly don't see the benefit to this unless you think your luck is super good. Like let's say you found a ring like this on the ground. It had random stats on it, but you didn't want to sit there rolling one stat at a time or anything, or it says it's going to be super expensive to try to craft on it. I suppose if you have a bunch of Reincarnation Embers, you could just sit there and spam it and hope that the rolls all end up being something decent that you want early. But if you're starting a craft like this, you're never ever going to use this. So just pretend this doesn't exist for what we're doing right now. This is all just random luck of the draw. This is like taking a dice and saying, I want to roll it and I want to hit 6 every time. But instead you're using a whole bunch, like from, let's say, Yahtzee. Let's say you have 5 dice in a cup and you're rolling it and you're throwing them out and you're hoping all of them roll 6, but then you end up getting like 2 1s, a 3, a 2, and then maybe 1 6, So this is just a complete random set of rolls, and it's not something that I use. So it's up to you if you want to do this, but do not do it when you're this far into your craft, or you're gonna probably walk away with a frown on your face. What is a Truth Ember? Truth Embers re-roll the stats of your current tier. So let's say all these are tier 2s, and it shows you right here the chances of getting these rolls. Well, let's say I'm not happy with these rolls. Let's say they're all low rolls, and I want to try to re-roll it to have the highest possible roll. That's where truth embers come in. If you have a whole bunch of them, you could sit there and spam it until you're lucky enough to get max roll on everything. However, if you're going to use these, I would say either wait to the very end of your craft when everything is tier 1 on the board and try to get all of them perfect, or start using them right away when you have lower tier stuff, because then it's easier later because you already have maximum stuff going up. So use these as you wish. Let's say I use one right now. You can see where we're at. We're at 47, 48, 45. Alright, so it re-rolled it from 47, 48, 45 to 47 staying the same, 48 staying the same, but the 45 went up to 47. This is almost as good as it can possibly get because it's just right there on being perfect across the board. If I was you, I would just stay. No more hits. Just stay. Yes, I know, blackjack term.
5. I'll stay. I suggest you hit, sir.
Just stay. Keep it how it is. You're not trying to go for min-max anyway, because these are just T2s. You're not trying to go higher. On top of that, more than likely, at this state in the game, you're going to have no truth embers anyway. This is more of an end-game currency drop that you get off of, like the bosses from running T7 maps and stuff. So I would just kind of hold off on these anyway. But I showed you what they do, and now you know. So let's go back to crafting. Let's say you want to start working on your prefixes. Maybe we'll make this one a survivability one. You don't even care about damage at this point. You're just trying to go for something with survivability. So maybe you just want more life or more armor or evasion or something. So let's see what we got. We have damage types. We have what I already read. We have different damage types here. And we have some survivability stuff here. So let's say we want to try to go for max life. So you see that now that we have 3 rolled on there, it tripled the amount of the flame sand. Now it's showing the right thing. Look at that. Wow. Who would have thought that that was flame sand?
Awkward.
So it costs triple the amount. Luckily, it still costs just 1 ember, so we aren't getting triple that amount. We're only getting triple amount of the flame sand. But we're going to try to roll for maximum life. So hit it. We got a T3 maximum mana. That's actually not bad. If you needed mana, I would maybe even stick with that, because the odds of getting a T2 over here and not erasing one of these is kind of low. But for the sake of the video, we're going to keep going for health. We want max life. Well, there again, we rolled a T2, and this one's mana regen speed, which is very decent for somebody who needs mana and is running out. However, like I mentioned earlier, see what happened? It erased our cold roll that we were going for this whole time. It's just gone now, because it replaced it. It put one here, but replaced one down here. And you can see that by looking at these markers. It's saying you minused one here, but you added one here. So make sure you pay attention, because maybe if this was the roll you were looking for, you don't want to instantly go, oh heck yeah, and then click confirm, because then you wouldn't have noticed that your cold res is gone. So because we don't want to get rid of this, we're going to hit confirm over here and start over. That's not a bad roll either, but we're going to continue to try for T2 for the sake of the video. So let me sit here for a second, hit it a few times, and see what we can get. For those of you wondering, I have not fast forwarded through this at all. This is me actually rolling it live on this video. That's close. We got close, guys. We got T3. However, once again, cold resist is gone. Alright, continue to try. Alright, so this is where it gets a little bit tricky, guys. Maybe you really want to keep this. Maybe you're like, dang, I want to keep this so badly because this is so good for me right now. I need it. And I still have the cold res, which is what we were trying for. However, the lightning res is now gone. Do I really need the lightning res more than I need the maximum life? That part is up to you guys. You could say, you know what, this isn't as valuable to me as this. I'm going to keep this, and then I could always roll something else here if I want. That's completely viable. If you guys want to do that, you can. However, that's not what I personally want. I want to keep these. This is my safety net right here. So I'm going to keep this, and I'm going to say no to this. Even though this is really nice. Okay, so we didn't get tier 2, but I'm gonna say this is good enough. The difference between what we rolled on T2 and this is not that much maximum life. It was within like 10 maximum life, which isn't that much. Like, when you get towards the end game, like, play, you're gonna have thousands of life, so like 10 HP is not gonna make or break you. So since we got tier 2 everything already, none of it went away, and we're almost at the same amount of life as the T2 because we got a high version of tier 3. I am gonna say this is good enough, so I'm gonna keep it. Moving to the next, what should we do? What do you think we should do? Well, I'm gonna say, now that we got some extra life, we want to try to get either regenerate life per second or life regen speed. I would say life per second sounds better to me. So let's go ahead and re-roll again and hope that we can get a decent roll for regenerate life per second right here. I mean, man, alright, well, first try, you know, it happens to everyone eventually. What can I say? I just got lucky fingers or something. Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
You done messed up, Aaron! Now take your on down to Oshag Hennessy's office right now and tell him exactly what you did.
Alright, so we're gonna go ahead and keep it. It's not tier 2, but I'm telling you, like, you can't be super greedy this early on in the game if you're not rolling for max anyway. So we're gonna keep it. What do we go for the last one, though? This is the big one. What do we do? It costs a lot. It costs 1 flame elementium, which it's not telling me. It's telling me it's flame sand, and I... Alright, so yeah, this is normally supposed to say flame elementium, because that's what it is, but it's lying, and it's telling us it's flame sand. So what do we do? What do we want here? Well, this is where I told you I would use an acute fossil, if you have it. Because rolling here is more than likely going to erase one of these or replace one of them up here when you try to do it. So this is where I would normally use an acute fossil. Let's say, just for the heck of it, you don't like any of these other options. Scroll down to the next one. You know, maximum energy shield isn't bad. That goes over top of our health bar. And the enemy has to break the energy shield most of the time before he even gets to our health. So let's try to see if we can roll maximum energy shield. At this point, if we ended up getting a good roll, that would be awesome. More than likely it's going to be a low roll though. But, for the sake of this video, I will see what happens on the next roll without an acute fossil. Maybe for 5 flame elementiums, we'll try 5 times. And if it's not good, then we'll go ahead and try with an acute fossil and see what happens. So, let's go. First hit. So we got really lucky. It didn't remove anything. However, it gave us not the one we're looking for. It gave us a ton of armor instead. At this point, you probably would look at it and be like, I'm sold. I'm just gonna keep it. I I don't really care that it didn't roll energy shield, because holy crap, that's a ton of armor and that's going to save me. That's fine. You could totally just run with it. You could do it, or you could not do it. Me personally, when I'm sitting here crafting, I don't normally just, say that's good enough. I've gotten to the point where I really only want the best for me, and I only want what I want. So I'm willing to waste my currency rolling what I want. However, I'm looking at that from an end game point of view. From a beginner standpoint, like when this new season or any new season starts, I'm not going to be that picky. I can't be that picky. I don't have that much currency to spend. I don't have hundreds of this. I don't have thousands of that. I have like 10.
Our prices have never been lower.
Son, you have to talk louder.
Never been lower.
Louder, son!
Bud Liquor! Our prices have never been lower! Okay, stop heat!
Like, I can't be that picky. So, you're probably going to say, that's good. I'm done. Perfect. I'm going to throw this on right away. Me, though, because I'm doing this for the video, I am not happy. I want it to be an energy shield. So that was one roll that we got that wasn't what we wanted. You notice that when it jumped as crafting, the colors change up here. At first, you started with a blue. You started adding some skills to it, and then it turned purple. And then as soon as we added our very last skill, the color changed to pink. This is kind of how you can tell whether or not an item has a lot of actual stat rolls on it, is the color changes, letting you kind of know generally how many stats is rolled on it. So if you're getting a bunch of pink drops as you're running around, more than likely it's going to be a 6-statted piece of gear. I'm not completely sure if 5 stats will be pink or not. Things can change as the league mechanic changes, but it seems like it's going to stay purple until you can roll at least a 6th stat on the gear. So it's going to go into pink when it has all 6 filled out. So this isn't what we wanted. Try again. It replaced our maximum health. That's not what we wanted. Try again. It did it again, but we got what we wanted. It's too expensive to go back and try to roll maximum life. It's going to cost us 1 FE every try still. So I'm going to say nope, and I'm going to try again. Once again, we got armor, and it's not the spot that we wanted. Or once again, we got armor. This time it's even higher than the last one. But it's still just a T3, and it's not what we wanted. We're still going for energy shield. This was the 4th one, right? Right, guys? You're paying attention? I think it was the 4th one. Let's give it one more shot, and if it's not what we want, we're going to use an acute fossil. Alright, so not what we were looking for. Let's acute fossil and see what we get right here. Acute fossil. And bam. Alright, so we got really unlucky, but at least it's in the right spot. Try again. Still not lucky. We got what we wanted. However, it's pretty much the worst possible roll. Yeah, not satisfied. Again. Not what we wanted. Not what we wanted. Little bit better, but still not what we wanted. Okay, so we're getting closer. This is an expensive process now. This is up to you whether or not you want to keep moving forward, because you've already started spending a lot of currency trying to roll this. I spent, like 9 or 10 Flame Elementiums already, and there's a possibility that some of you are like, I don't have time to sit here and roll my crafted gear. Maybe I'll check to see if someone else crafted something and listed it for sale that I can buy. So what you can do is you can go in and you can search up rings. You can look up this exact type of ring if you want. That's a level 1 requirement. and you can see if by chance there is one listed that's pink. That's how you know it'll be 6. And then you can check to see how much it costs and whether or not it has T1 rolls on it by clicking the button like this. And you can buy it. You can buy one that's already done. If people are already selling it, like, by all means, if you have the money, buy it. Why even spend your time wasting crafting? However, I enjoy the craft. I enjoy crafting stuff that a lot of people have difficulties doing, and sometimes I do like to list it and sell my items too. That way I can make currency to buy other things I need. So sometimes I'll take advantage of crafting because I'm good at it, and I'll make a profit. So this isn't what we wanted. I'm gonna try again. Still not what we wanted. Still not what we wanted. It's so close. Do we stay? Nope. 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 Let's just start spamming it. Oh man, why do you trigger me like this? It even gave us a T2 of armor. Okay, well, it's good enough. For the sake of this video, tier 2s and tier 3s are not bad whatsoever, especially for a starting ring. Something like this might go for more FEs than what you actually spent on it early on, so all in all, you're probably in profit if you wanted to sell it. Everybody has their own personal preferences though. So maybe people weren't looking for all resists on their ring. Or maybe nobody was looking for health, they were looking for damage. So you gotta find those people who are looking for the rolls that you did. And there's gonna be a lot more selective few people who want this exact one. So don't get discouraged if it doesn't sell right away for what you're listing it. It might take a day, it might take a couple days, it might sell instantly. You don't know. So give it a shot, list it, and if it, if you're not going to use it, and hopefully you make some good profit off of it. And this is what crafting is like. There is a couple other things I can show you, and it's going to freaking break this ring probably. But let me show you. So let's say we keep that. It says now the next roll is going to cost 20 flame elementiums. And why would you need that? Like, none of this is good, right? We already rolled what we wanted? Well, let me show you guys something. You remember how I said you're capped if it's not at least 85? Well, let me show you an example of why you would maybe want something that's 85. So this is a piece of gear I have on my setup. It's level 87. We're going to go into the crafting bench. We're going to select it. And you'll see that all of my stuff is rolled T1. They have a gold diamond. That's a big indication letting you know it's a T1 roll, is they have the gold diamond. But you'll see some stuff down here that is different. You see these two right here? These two weren't offered on the last one because it didn't meet the 85 or higher threshold. So Ominouses and Restless Embers are very late game embers you can drop. They usually sell for multiple flame elementiums, so they're not cheap. You can't just, spam the heck out of them because you don't usually have that much money early on. And I also don't recommend using them on early game gear either. I recommend waiting to use these on your end game stuff that you plan to keep forever or sell. Ominous rolls have really good rolls usually. For example, you can roll defeated enemies have a 30% chance to explode, dealing secondary lightning damage equal to 10% of its maximum life. Or you can have negative 8% sealed mana, so your skills, you can use them, plug in more energy and whatnot into your build. Plus 1 or 2 to active skill level, which I have rolled on mine, which is ridiculous. That just adds an extra 1 or 2 points into your actual skill. So let's say your skill's maxed out. Well, now it's an extra +1 or +2 added to the max. Or, 40% or 45% extra maximum life is kind of huge too, to those of you who are stacking like max life builds. So that's what an ominous can do for like this specific chest. Looking into it, every single type of item is, like I said, is an int, dex, or strength. And depending on that base, you'll have different rolls under these categories. So don't think that any chest can roll the same thing, because it can't. You want to look for the one that you're looking to get. And one of the best ways to find out whether or not you can get that is actually by going to the market, looking up those chests, and seeing what other players have crafted and listed in the market. It's one of the easiest ways to find out what can roll on it. Other than that, finding a base yourself, even if it's super cheap, or if you found it on the ground while running around, you can come over to the crafting bench and you can scroll down and start searching to see what can be rolled on it yourself. Those are the two options that you have to be able to figure out what actually rolls on each piece of gear. Restless. So you'll notice ominous is pre, so it's only prefix up here, and restless is only suffix, and that's down here. These cannot be rolled constantly. You can't say, you know what, why even make the other ones like part of your setup? I rather just have pure ominouses. Why can't I just have all of these right here and just have all of those right here? The reason why is these can't be rolled until you already have 6 skills plugged in. You have to have a stat on every line before these even unlock for you to be able to use. Which means, no matter what, you're going to have to replace one of your skills if you want one of these. So, what most endgame or people do that are trying to make the most optimal, perfect, like endgame pieces, is they'll roll with an acute, like I said, an acute fossil, to get that last line added wherever it is that they're doing it. But they don't try for the optimal roll, like a T1 or a T2. They'll just get whatever the game offers them and just throw it there and say confirm. Then, when they go in to use an ominous or restless, they try to hope that it rolls over the one that they rolled bad. That's what most players will do, is they'll accept a bad one and then try to roll over it on the next try. So if I use ominous right now, it's going to roll over one of these 3 skills. And more than likely, if you've already rolled an ominous, it's going to roll over that same ominous roll every single time. It's almost no way in the game for you to be able to roll double ominous rolls on things, but there sort of is at the same time, and that might be something I can explain in a future video. But for now, just keep in mind that you can usually only get 1 ominous roll on the top and 1 restless roll on the bottom. There are some ways to get around that. That might be something that they fix in the future. However, as far as I know, it can only be done on weapons, and it's got to be very specific, I think, to ominous. I think you can only have like 2 ominous rolls on your weapon, possibly. So yeah, that's a possibility. Just don't look forward to it. It's very, very expensive. So keep that in mind moving forward. These are for endgame. They're when you have a ton of money and currency saved up, and you're ready to just move to that next level. You really want to take on the harder content. You really want to take on the uber bosses. You really want to take on the highest proof of the brave, and you want to be top tier, leading the path, clearing everything that you see, finding the most epic drops. Maybe eventually, if they unlock co-op or multiplayer, you want to be able to carry all your friends and make it really, really good and fun gameplay for yourself. This is where it's at. This is when you'd start focusing on that stuff. This is where you want to take your damage to the next level and try to break the dummy's health bar, because, that's a thing. People have been able to do it. It's just not cheap. It's not easy to do. You gotta have the most end game prestigious stuff to do it, and you have to have the most optimal min-maxed build, probably level 100 as well. So that's pretty much the crafting section, you guys. There is one more thing I can show. No, there is two more things I can show you, however, and I'm going to do that right now. So at the same NPC, the arms dealer, there is Enchanting and there is Gear Empowerment. First thing you want to do before you do anything at all, and I didn't really show you guys that because you can't do it on a ring, is eventually you're going to find that items have an energy bar. So if you're at the point where you've unlocked your energy, which if you're still running the campaign, more than likely you haven't really got into energy yet, but sooner or later you're going to run into energy. And what you would want to do is you'd want to plug in your item and you'd want to try to set the energy to as high as possible. It costs a lot, and it costs a lot more for you to try if your item is already maxed out. So if your item is already a common, like a white, like let's say you just started and you haven't gotten around to actually crafting on something yet, this would be the optimal time to roll the energy and try to get it to max. Trinkets like rings and belts and necklaces don't have energy, so you don't have to worry about that. But if you happen to have a weapon, you happen to have a chest or a boots or a gloves, all of that has energy, and that's something that you'll want to try to max out later, and this is where you'll do it. There's also the enchantment section. And this is where, let's say you had your ring and you really wanted to roll an enchantment on it. Let's say that final slot isn't giving you what you wanted, or it cost way too much. You don't have flame elementiums yet, so you don't know what you should put there. You could always come in here and roll an enchant instead, and you can choose a lighter enchant if you want. It'll always roll on that section that has an empty spot, as long as it's for prefix, or for the suffix if it has an empty spot. Remember, enchants are just like crafting. It has prefix and suffix, so pay attention when you're picking it. You don't want to accidentally roll over one of the stats that you want to keep. So enchanting is an option. I honestly don't recommend it though until you get to the very end, or maybe if you ran out of currency and you just want to roll an enchant real quick to get something minor added to your ring or whatever, you can do that. What happens if I enchant my item though and I want to get rid of the enchant and roll over it? Well, once you go back into the crafting menu and you start trying to craft, it'll give you a warning. It'll say, hey, this item has an enchantment on it, and if you go to roll, it's going to remove the enchantment. Are you sure this is what you want to do? And you say yes, and it will remove the enchantment and it'll become blank again, and then you can start continuing your craft. Besides that, there is one other thing you guys can do, and I think it's up to you though. It's a little bit of a risk. As you guys are running through, if you haven't beat the story yet, you might find this guy named Xenoth, and he has something called Corrosion, and you can throw your items into the Corrosion and try to add a modifier or upgrade it. They're all different. Some of them better than others, some of them worse than others. For example, Chaos will take your item and re-roll all of the stats on it randomly. So either they'll go up or they'll go down. It's kind of like using the Truth Ember, but in a way probably worse, because once you do a corrosion, you can't fix it. Your item is stuck corroded. Mutation will take the affix that was at the top. So for our ring, it said adds lightning resist. We wanted it like that when we picked it. So if it happens to choose a different affix, hopefully it picks something that's better than lightning resist. And if you really want to know what that is, you can plug in your ring. You can click on mutation and then click this little button, and it'll show you all the optional rolls that it could roll over top of. So maybe you'd be happier with attack speed, or extra dex percent, or cast speed, or intellect, or strength, or elemental resist in general. Like, having this would be okay, I suppose, because that's all resists except for erosion. Erosion does not include elemental in it. Tells you right here by clicking it, fire, cold, and lightning only. So if this isn't what you want, hopefully you don't get that. There's also arrogance. What does arrogance do? It goes through and it upgrades one of your ranks to a higher rank. So if all of our items, let's say we rolled tier 2 on everything, there's a chance that it will upgrade it to tier 1. If you happen to have tier 3 on everything, there's a chance it'll go tier 2 or tier 3, because it always goes up at least 1. There's a chance for it to roll tier 0, which is even higher possible than what's rolled in the crafting bench if you happen to have tier 2 or higher. So most of the time, this is a positive. If you land on this, there's no negative almost. However, keep in mind, sometimes there is a negative, and that comes down to whatever piece you're rolling. Some pieces will say in here that the roll is between like negative like 5 and positive 5, and it will re-roll it. And sometimes you'll go from having an item that was positive 2 to like negative 4. Even though you landed on arrogance, you're like, yes, I got something good, it's gonna upgrade it. Even though it got upgraded, it re-rolled the stat randomly, so it rolled it negative. Even though it upgraded it, it rolled it negative, and now your item is pretty much bricked and it's bad. Why is this a thing? I don't know. I had reported it already in the first league, but if it gets changed, who knows? But it is a thing. You can take it positive and roll it to a negative in here if the item has the opportunity to do that. However, if you look here, nothing here says there's a negative in it. All of it says it's just from flat to higher, flat to higher, flat to higher. So there's no downside if you happen to roll this when you're corroding. What is void? Void literally just keeps whatever you have the same and just pretty much keeps your item the way it is. You cannot roll another corrosion on it. You can't upgrade the stats anymore. It's just stuck the way it is, and it's bound like that. That's what void does. It just rolls random, or not random. It just keeps it the way it is and freezes it pretty much. That's what void does. What about desecration? Desecration is something you won't be able to do until later end game, but it's pretty much the same as arrogance. However, it rolls 2 of the stats higher instead of 1. So that requires you to have a different type of material, which that material is a familiar nexus. Familiar nexuses happen to drop off of the higher tier bosses later in the league, such as Keegan. Keegan will drop this if you beat him on the normal. You don't have to beat him on the Uber version, but yeah, he'll drop these more than likely almost every time you beat him. So this is how you would get that roll if you wanted. Other than that, you'll pick up a bunch of different shards that will allow you to do the normal, which it costs Amberon cores. So Amberon cores are pretty easy to find while you're running through the game later. You'll probably get tons of them like I did. It costs 7 of them per roll, but you only get a roll 1 time per item. So let's go ahead and do it. We'll see what happens. Hopefully we don't remove this. It's what we kind of want. Hopefully we don't re-roll the stats, but you know, if it happens, it happens. What we really want is arrogance or void. I'd rather it just, you know, keep it the same than make it worse. And this is what you would do at the very, very end if you wanted to, you know, have a possibility to make your item even better after you're done crafting. It can break your item. It could make it way worse, and you could be sad about it. You could, if you're trying to take an item and sell it, maybe it's not worth it for you to do this. Maybe it's more worth it to sell it as is and have someone else risk their money on trying to roll it better. Or maybe you can risk it, roll something really high out of one of these, and then you can list it now for even higher than what you got before. So it's a risk, and this is an end game mechanic that you can plug into your crafted gear if you want. And or, you know, legendary, unique stuff that also you got while farming. You can just plug in a random corrosion and hope it goes better. So, let's see what happens. Boom. Alright, we got what we didn't want. We rolled Chaos, which re-rolls our stats completely random. So, what did it do?
Vegeta, what does the scouter say about his power level?
It's 1006.
It rolled our maximum life a little higher. Not mad about that. It lowered our overall regenerate for life per second, so that sucks. It lowered our overall maximum energy to the lowest possible, which is fine. It's just -1, I guess. But at least it kept our resists the same. This was what we wanted the most to begin with, so it could have been way worse. It really could have. It could have just deteriorated these down to like the lowest rolls, and I'm okay with this. It's not good. It's not horrible though, so we're okay. And now you'll see the item says corroded. It says corroded gear can not be corroded again and consumes double the materials during crafting. So if I was to go back, let's say I take my ring back to the crafting station over here at the arms dealer, and I throw my ring back in. It now says if I wanted to re-roll the stats, it's going to cost 2 truth embers. So I technically can roll it again to try to re-roll these higher. However, like I said, now that we have all 6 stats, it's also going to roll this one, and this one. And we rolled these to be almost perfect earlier. So is it worth it to try to roll these ones to make these higher? That's up to you. If you have a bunch of these, like a couple hundred just lying around, for sure, just start spamming them and try to get perfect rolls. But if you have like 1, or you have like 2 or 3 or something, maybe it's not worth it for you. So don't do it. Just say, you know what, I'm happy. This isn't my end game piece of gear anyway. And I'll worry about that when I have something more end game. That's when I'll actually focus on putting all my money into it, because this is where, you know, I'm making my best in slot stuff. So there you go, guys. I hope that helped you. I hope that you're able to make some amazing crafted stuff. I hope that this video helped you. And if it did, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below, like, if this was something that you enjoyed and whether or not you learned something. If you'd like to see some more content, more videos, let me know as well. I'm constantly looking for better and more creative ideas. I'll probably work on some more builds and stuff and maybe post some guides for that as well. But thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, guys.